A regime doesn't end when a leader dies. It ends when it can't enforce control. With war ongoing, Iran enters the most dangerous phase: succession under pressure and a stressed state. The question is, who holds the system together when the top disappears? Tuesday afternoon, the Oval Office. Trump is standing next to the German Chancellor, and he says it almost casually. Everything's been knocked out. Navy, Air Force, radar, detection systems, all of it, gone. And then he says something else. Something that shifts the entire nature of this war. The second wave of strikes hit a meeting, an emergency meeting inside Iran, where officials had gathered to choose Khamenei's successor. The people in that room, potential leaders of whatever comes next in Tehran, were killed. Let that settle for a second. The United States is no longer just destroying military infrastructure. It's hunting the next government. Here's the timeline. 6 days. February 28th. Wave 1. Operation Epic Fury launches. Khamenei killed. 49 members of the senior leadership eliminated in the first hour. Over 500 targets struck before sunrise. March 1st and 2nd. Wave 2. Expansion into ballistic missile sites, shipyards, air bases. 1,250 targets hit in the first 48 hours. 11 Iranian warships destroyed in the Gulf of Oman. CENTCOM confirms not a single Iranian vessel remains operational. March 3rd. Wave 3. Trump announces it live. New strikes confirmed against leadership succession meetings. The IAEA confirms hits on Natanz and nuclear facilities. Iran has fired roughly 420 missiles at 9 countries and ships at sea in retaliation. 1,800 combined targets in 5 days. And Trump says the big wave hasn't even happened yet. The big one is coming soon. This is no longer about degrading capability. The logic has changed. Waves 1 and 2 were about destroying things. Missiles, radar, ships, concrete, steel, hardware you can photograph from a satellite and check off a list. Wave 3 is about destroying people. Specifically, the people who could rebuild the state. When you strike an emergency succession meeting, you're not sending a military message. You're sending a political one. You're telling every surviving official inside the Iranian system, if you gather, if you try to organize, if you attempt to reconstitute a chain of command, we will find you. And we will hit the room. That's not degradation. That's institutional erasure. And here is the paradox no one in Washington seems to be addressing. Trump said he was open to talking to new leadership in Iran. He said it publicly, but the campaign is killing that leadership before it can form. Think about what that means operationally. The first wave killed Khamenei and the existing command structure. The second wave killed the people gathered to replace them. The third wave is hunting whoever's left. So who exactly does Washington plan to negotiate with? Who receives the ceasefire proposal? Who has the authority to accept terms? Who can commit the Iranian state to an agreement? When the Iranian state is being dismantled faster than it can reconstitute, Trump projected 4 to 5 weeks. But you can't negotiate the end of a war with a government that no longer exists. And you can't rebuild one from the outside without the very thing this campaign is designed to avoid: boots on the ground. Meanwhile, Iran is lashing out in every direction, not just at American bases, not just at Israel, at oil and gas facilities in Saudi Arabia and Qatar, countries that are not part of this war. A British base in Cyprus, hit by an Iranian drone. The American consulate in Dubai, targeted. 6 American soldiers dead in Kuwait. 3 F-15s accidentally shot down by Kuwaiti air defense. All 6 pilots ejected safely. But the incident tells you something about the chaos of this battle space. 420 missiles fired at 9 countries. This is what a decapitated state looks like when it can still shoot. No central coordination, no strategic filtering. IRGC commanders at mid-level ranks making targeting decisions that would have previously required approval from the supreme leader, who is dead, or from senior commanders, who are also dead. That's not defiance. That's a machine running without a brain. And machines without brains don't escalate rationally. They just escalate. The international cracks are showing. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer stood up in Parliament and publicly rebuked Trump for pursuing regime change from the air. That's the first significant break between Washington and London since the operation began. The United Nations called for an off-ramp, but there is no off-ramp. An off-ramp requires someone on the other side to take it. And every time that someone starts to emerge in Tehran, a bomb lands on the building they're sitting in. So where does this go? Trump laid out 4 objectives: missiles, navy, nuclear, and proxies. He's declared the first 3 as effectively accomplished. That leaves proxies: Hezbollah, Iraqi militias, Houthi networks. But there's a 5th objective that nobody's naming out loud. And it's the one that explains Wave 3. Regime collapse. Not just degradation. Not just deterrence. The complete inability of the Islamic Republic to function as a state. The most likely next phase is a 4th wave targeting Iran's energy production infrastructure. Refineries, oil fields, export terminals. Economic asphyxiation layered on top of military destruction. And after that, Trump said the big one is coming soon. He didn't say what it was, but the trajectory is clear. Every wave has been larger than the last. Every wave has expanded the definition of what counts as a target. First, it was military hardware, then nuclear sites, then leadership, then the successors of leadership. There's a word for what happens when you destroy a state's military, kill its leader, eliminate his potential replacements, and sever its ability to govern. It's not victory. It's a vacuum. And vacuums in the Middle East don't stay empty. They get filled by militias, by factions, by opportunists, by forces that are harder to find, harder to hit, and harder to negotiate with than the regime that came before. 4 to 5 weeks, Trump said. The bombs have a schedule, the consequences don't.